Jewish women in North Africa were illiterate until fairly recently. Still, there were women of scholarly families that would have been educated and very learned. Freha Bat Yosef, as she is colloquially known, would have been one of those women. She is the single poetess known to us thus far who wrote poetry in Hebrew in North Africa in the 18th century. But before we get into her works, let's get some background. Freha was born in Morocco in the early 18th century to Rabbi Avraham ben Adiba. Unfortunately, her life was wrought with tragedies. She, along with her brother and father, escaped Morocco in the mid-18th century for a safer Tunis. However, in 1756, not much after their arrival there, the Ottomans made their way from Algeria to Tunis, and the Ben Adiba family once again had to escape. Some of the members of the Jewish community managed to find refuge in Tripoli, Libya. Freha's father and brother successfully left, but she was left behind. When the fighting died down, her father and brother returned to Tunis, as did other members of the community, but they did not find Freha. Rabbi Avraham wanted to memorialize his scholarly daughter and did so by dedicating Freha's bedroom into a ritual bath, and her library became a synagogue. Known as Slat Freha, or the Synagogue of Freha, the synagogue became a pilgrimage site for Jewish women in Tunis. They would pray that Freha's merit would protect them and alleviate their pains and illnesses. So what made Freha so unique that her name became almost saintly? An 18th century book of poetry in Meknes, Morocco, features Freha's works. Two of the poems are easily identifiable, as they are written as acrostics with her name spelled out: Freha Bat Yosef, Bat Avraham, Bar Yitzchak, Ben Adiba Chazak. It is quite remarkable that she seemingly never tried to hide that these writings were written by a female. Or more remarkable, that they were continuously included in books of poetry for over 100 years. She was not only adept at including her name in poems, but also in incorporating biblical references. Her vast knowledge of Jewish texts likely paralleled those of scholars in her time. Bat Yosef me'achelet, hatov mimech sho'elet, maher arza tehi nochelet, miyad haishme'eli. The daughter of Yosef longs, seeks goodness from you alone. Soon her land will be inherited from the Ishmaelites' hand. And these piyutim often referenced Freha's longing for and connection to the land of Israel. She expressed it so emotionally and personally. To further her greatness, some sources tell that she wrote scholarly works on biblical texts as well. However, just as she was lost to us, so were these works. As for what does remain, such as Slat Freha, well, in the 1930s, the city of Tunis decided to destroy it in order to make way for extensive renovations in the old Jewish quarter, which is when an article in the local newspaper, Hayehudi, was published in Judeo-Arabic telling of the story of Freha. Her importance to the community meant that even if the original building was being destroyed, her memory would remain. The religious items of the synagogue were transferred to a new building on Al-Mula Street and became known as Slat Freha. Rav David Katorza even wrote to the Secretary General of Tunisia in 1936 to stress the importance of preserving her house. He wrote, "She was beautiful and most importantly very knowledgeable. She rode on horses, worked with music, and was a poetess."